Europeans who are white came to West Africa.
Right.
They saw West Africans. They said, okay, these people are less advanced and this must be fundamental to what they are. They're just a different class of humans, right? And they're inherently worse in all sorts of ways. That was the European mindset.
Got it.
Now, fast forward hundreds of years later, I think what's happening is actually kind of a reversal, where now there's people who are saying, oh, white people are inherently worse in some way, but instead of it being technologically worse or civilizationally worse, it's morally
worse.
So what happens is anytime we have these discussions, because we're talking about race, we're actually focusing on the wrong thing when we need to be focused on the software, not the hardware. There's nothing about being inherently white or inherently black that makes someone inherently morally superior or inferior. But every time we talk about oppression and hostility and hatred, we racialize it inherently.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
It's race essentialism. So we say, oh, all white people. Well, what about Slavic people? Like Slavic, the word literally comes from slave. So Slavic people, like in Eastern Europe, they were enslaved by the Ottoman Empire.
Yes,
right?
yes. Oh my God, I love you so much.
Yeah, so the slavery all throughout history, but what happens is in America, we become so hyper fixated on what happened in America, which is important. Of course we should mention slavery, and you never denied that.
No!
But I think the point that you were trying to make, and it's difficult in that environment, is there's a much broader context here.
Yes.
And the evils of slavery are not particular to melanin.
I literally said that. I'm like, you cannot paint only one race with
Yeah.
this.
So
And not all white people
exactly.
perpetuated this.
Exactly.
Hold on. Yeah,
So in the analysis of American history, of course, we need to acknowledge that yes, there was a racialized institution of slavery, and in that racialized institution of slavery, white people were placed at the top of the hierarchy, and black people were placed at the bottom. That doesn't mean that current white people identify with that mindset, because it was a culture, it was a software that was adopted, and it happened to be adopted by these people. But all throughout human history, people have been justifying slavery through different methodologies. This is just the American way that we did it. We should be aware of it so we don't repeat it, but we shouldn't be so fixated on that we conflate someone's color of their skin with their ideology.
And I just want to follow up on one thing he said before we lose the thread. What you just said about the, persecution of, Slavic individuals by the Ottoman Empire, that like really spoke to me and resonated because, my parents came here in the late 1970s and early 1980s. They were refugees because of the fact that they were under, Soviet rule in Armenia, so they were oppressed under Soviet rule. But prior to that, the Armenian people suffered a genocide and persecution by the Ottoman Empire. And so the history of, my background, my ancestors, was one of persecution, slaughter, just terrible treatment. So when all of that gets erased, and the only thing that matters is literally the color of my skin, and I get lumped in with like the Europeans who, brought slavery here to the United States, I just find it deeply offensive. And what it does is it creates this environment of, it breeds more racism.
And that's why racism is a problem.